Some liberal arts colleges are partnering with a startup called Koru, and this startup offers career boot camps for rising seniors and recent graduates. And these students end up being embedded in companies like Recreational Equipment Incorporated or Zulily, and they're learning directly from employers how to create presentations, engage in business analytics, and design thinking. But if students and colleges are paying an extra, sometimes $3,000 for these services, isn't that evidence that something crucial might be missing from the existing curriculum? Shouldn't immersive work experiences be more fully integrated into the college experience? Matthew Sigelman, who's the CEO of Burning Glass Technologies, has identified 8 technical skill sets ranging from marketing to business to IT and graphic design that he has discovered that when developed through coursework, internships, co-op experiences, minors, they can almost double the amount of jobs that liberal arts graduates would be competitive for. In order for students to become effective citizens, they must be connected to that full ecosystem, which includes the workforce. It's not an either-or proposition. Rick Staisloff puts it, "The trap is that we think we are either pursuing the life of the mind or that we are a beauty school. We want students to get immersed in a culture. Well, the workplace is a culture." Connections and pathways need to be forged more clearly for students so that they and employers can recognize the true value of their liberal arts educations. So whether they're competencies, nano degrees, certificates, or badges, learning providers are working to uplift the notion of vocational training and build more and affordable on and off ramps to what is now a very insular learning experience and linear experience. These alternative learning pathways are actually going to gain traction with students who are looking to higher education for that new job to be done. Understanding and ascertaining the different reasons why students pursue higher education in a smaller liberal arts setting is an important starting point, but it's also important not to glorify that job. I was fascinated at a recent innovation conference to listen to a number of small liberal arts college presidents talk about how nothing was going to disrupt what they were delivering on campus because they were delivering the lived experience to students. But this lived experience is also one of the major factors behind soaring administrative costs and capital expenditures. But nevertheless, they solve problems together. Hacker houses, the Minerva Project, Coursera's MOOC camps in embassies and consulates all around the world, General Assembly, Dev Bootcamp, and a whole array of other coding boot camps and many other alternative learning pathways offer students wonderful opportunities to collaborate with and learn from one another. Nevertheless, academics then maintain that the liberal arts experience is priceless because it teaches students to learn and think critically for a lifetime. This oft-repeated defense is that students who are well-equipped with that well-rounded liberal arts education will be able to pivot, no matter the job, no matter the industry, because of their critical thinking and communication skills and that ability to learn how to learn. But what people who have not spent a great deal of time outside of academia don't necessarily understand is how difficult it is to pivot between jobs and especially between industries. Even those with professional degrees from prestigious institutions struggle to transition, from operations to product management to marketing or between startups and corporations, not to mention how difficult it is to move again between industries. Employers are putting an incredible amount of weight on specific prior work experience and very granular skill sets. And the harsh reality is that these things really do matter. All institutions of higher education, and no one has this figured out, will have to think more critically about how they offer learning, how they justify their costs, and consider whether and how to adapt their curricula to the changing labor market and needs of the workforce. Schools cannot simply dismiss online learning providers as non-competitors with established institutions. They can't assume that brand name recognition will forever be a strong signaling mechanism to employers. Particularly when it comes to the liberal arts, we have to be able to articulate why the liberal arts matter outside of academia. There's space to improve what Anthony Carnival calls the cross-fertilization between liberal education and more applied curricula. We can't simply expect students to have faith that their choice of major will be the right one, for the notion of that long-term career is really evolving as we speak. Workers have to now be actively responsible for honing and constantly developing their skills for the new technologies and jobs emerging on a day-to-day basis. The average millennial is going to have about 7 jobs by age 26, and only 23% of millennials actually believe that they will stay with their current employer for more than 2 years. At the same time, the major demographic of MOOCs is that 35 and older working adult population who already have college degrees. So as more working adults return to school, we are learning that 4 years of college is no longer a guarantee for a career. A degree, even a well-branded degree, is no longer some kind of moving walkway on which we can passively ride for the rest of our working lives. In order to respond to these tectonic shifts, institutions are going to need to consider actively why students hire them for higher education. And rather than view this as a threat or give in to defensiveness and threat rigidity and cease being flexible in the face of these kinds of major systemic shifts, traditional institutions have to embrace a kind of openness. They can't double down on a static curriculum because they won't be able to compete with these lower cost, briefer, more targeted programs that ultimately lead to high skills opportunities at desirable companies. The oncoming disruption must be viewed as an opportunity to tie education to economic relevance, to offer more than just a trajectory, but a well-defined pathway to employment. There is substantial opportunity here to shed vocation of its narrow connotations of career education, corporate training, and utility. Vocation doesn't preclude the liberal arts, but confuse a liberal arts education with that application of knowledge, effective citizenship, well-roundedness, and even artistry. There's the potential to uplift the notion of the vocational beyond career education or factory jobs to represent what John Dewey called an education through occupations with an end in view. And it's going to come down to what is the job to be done for your students. Thank you.